Joseph Stalin, Rise, Terror, and Legacy, the story of a controversial leader. I understand you're asking for a detailed story of Joseph Stalin's life and actions, excluding space-related topics. Here's a more concise breakdown of his life, policies, and legacy. Early life and rise to power. Joseph Stalin was born in 1878 in Gori, Georgia, part of the Russian Empire. His early life was filled with hardship, as his father was abusive and his mother struggled to support the family. Stalin attended a church school and then a theological seminary, but he eventually turned to Marxism. By the early 20th century, Stalin had joined the Bolshevik Party, led by Vladimir Lenin, and began rising through its ranks. After Lenin's death in 1924, Stalin outmaneuvered his rivals, including Leon Trotsky, to become the leader of the Soviet Union by the late 1920s. Stalin's political acumen and ruthlessness helped him consolidate power, and he eventually became the absolute ruler of the USSR. Key policies and actions. 1. The Great Purge, 1936 to 1938. One of Stalin's most infamous acts was the Great Purge. In the late 1930s, Stalin launched a campaign to eliminate any perceived political enemies, both within the Communist Party and across the broader population. Thousands of political leaders, military officers, intellectuals, and ordinary citizens were arrested, tortured, and executed. The purges were designed to eliminate any threat to Stalin's absolute power. 2. Collectivization of agriculture. In the late 1920s, Stalin began a policy of forced collectivization, aiming to consolidate individual farms into collective ones controlled by the state. The goal was to increase agricultural productivity and provide food for the growing urban workforce. However, the policy led to widespread famine, especially in Ukraine, the Holodomor, where millions of peasants died due to starvation and repression. The collectivization policy also caused the deaths of millions more through deportations and executions. 3. Industrialization. Stalin implemented the 5-year plans to rapidly industrialize the Soviet Union. The focus was on increasing production in key sectors like steel, coal, and machinery. This industrialization helped transform the Soviet Union into a major global power, but it came at an immense human cost. Forced labor, harsh working conditions, and lack of safety in factories led to the suffering of millions of workers. Fourth World War II. In 1939, Stalin signed a non-aggression pact with Nazi Germany, which allowed Hitler to invade Poland without Soviet interference. However, in 1941, Hitler broke the pact and launched a massive invasion of the Soviet Union. Stalin's initial unpreparedness led to significant losses, but eventually, the Soviet Union managed to turn the tide of the war. The Battle of Stalingrad, 1942 to 1943, was a key turning point, marking the beginning of the Soviet offensive that would push the German army back. The Soviet victory at Stalingrad was crucial in the defeat of Nazi Germany in 1945. 5. Post-war expansion and the Cold War. After World War II, Stalin sought to expand Soviet influence in Eastern Europe, establishing communist governments in countries like Poland, Hungary, and East Germany. This expansion was a key factor in the start of the Cold War, as the United States and its allies opposed Soviet influence and the spread of communism. Stalin's actions led to the division of Europe into two blocs: the Western, capitalist bloc led by the United States, and the Eastern, communist bloc under Soviet influence. Stalin's legacy. Stalin's legacy is complex and deeply controversial. On one hand, he is credited with turning the Soviet Union into a major industrial and military power, and playing a crucial role in the defeat of Nazi Germany. On the other hand, his policies caused the deaths of millions, both through direct actions like purges and forced labor, and through famine caused by his collectivization policies. The Gulag system, a network of labor camps where millions were sent to work under brutal conditions, became synonymous with Stalin's reign of terror. After Stalin's death in 1953, his successors, most notably Nikita Khrushchev, denounced his actions during a process known as de-Stalinization. This involved acknowledging the horrors of Stalin's rule and trying to move away from the repressive aspects of his leadership. However, Stalin's image and influence continued to be a powerful force in Soviet politics, with some viewing him as a figure of national strength and others as a ruthless dictator. Conclusion: Stalin was one of the most significant and divisive figures of the 20th century. His leadership brought both monumental achievements, such as industrialization and the defeat of Nazi Germany, as well as immense suffering, including purges, famine, and the repression of millions. His rule shaped not only the Soviet Union, but the course of global politics during the Cold War. Stay.